Susan Smith.
The child murderer.
Scott, this one is a very dark story of a woman that very heartlessly killed her children.
Yeah, and super innocent children on top of that.
And all for what?
So that she would not be lonely, quote unquote, for a man.
Well, she got life in prison. And with that, after 30 years, she is eligible for parole. And that is coming up in just a few months.
November. Yep. 2024.
Let's talk about that. Hello, I'm Brent.
And I'm Scott.
And this
is Strange Embers.
Scott, how do you want to go into this with her? Would you like to discuss the nature of her crimes first, and we'll talk a little bit about what's went on more recent?
Why don't we give a bit of a backstory as to who she is?
All right, go ahead.
So Susan Levon Smith was born September 26, 1971, in Union, South Carolina.
And Union, South Carolina is a very, very small community, little one red light town.
Yeah, it is. It was later said that she had some mental incapacities from what her attorney would say in court, that she suffered from, what was it, DPD?
That being
dependent personality disorder. And for people that are not aware of what dependent personality disorder is, I wasn't 100% aware exactly of what it was, so I did do a little research. Basically, it is when a individual relies on other persons or people's dependence to make their decisions for them. So let's just throw a hypothetical out there. Let's just say me and Brent are going out to dinner one night. I can't make my mind up as to what I want to do, where I want to go, what I want to wear. I have to depend on Brent to do that. That's a far-fetch. It's usually with a spouse or someone you're really close with, like your mother or your father, wife, husband, whomever. Basically, they depend heavily on people to tell them exactly what to do. So I think I don't think, from what they're saying in the case, that's what played a huge role in her essentially drowning her children. She did have 2 children, 2 boys, one of which was 3-year-old Michael Daniel Smith, and he was born October 10th, 1991, and 14-month-old Alexander Tyler Smith, who was born August 5th, 1993. It's said that Susan herself was very depressed. She had a lot of suicidal thoughts, but who knows if that's the truth or not. I'm not going to say. I mean, obviously, we know that's a real thing, being severely depressed and having those kind of thoughts. As the story goes, it kind of sounds like that is the case, but I'm just shook, and I don't understand why you would take the life of your 2 very, very young children.
Even at the reasons of why I'm going to say, for lack of better words, why she justified it to herself for what she was going to do. She was married at the time.
Let's go ahead. Can we take a step back before you proceed further?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and do it.
So we're going to step back to when I said I just can't see how she took the lives of her innocent children. Susan's biological father did commit self-harm and ultimately led to his demise when she was only 6 years old. And it's also said that she didn't have a stable life or a stable household during her whole growing up phase. And it was also disclosed that in her trial that Smith was molested in her teens by her stepfather, who admitted that he did molest her while she was a teenager and had consensual sex with her as an adult. Susan, at the age of 13, tried to commit suicide. She wound up graduating high school in 89, where she had a second attempt. It failed, obviously, because we're here now. And she was actually, after that second attempt, she wound up getting incarcerated she got incarcerated in the administrative segregation unit in the Camille Griffin Graham Correctional Institution in Columbia, South Carolina. And during that time that she was there at that institute, 2 guards wound up getting, I don't know if they got fired. It just says punished. From what I read, they got punished, which I'm going to assume they lost their job for having intercourse with her. And that was Lieutenant Houston Cagle and Captain Alfred R. Rowe Jr. And at that point, she was moved to a prison in Greenwood, where she is currently held today. And she's also been charged with multiple drug charges while incarcerated. Brent, why don't you tell us what led us to get to this point where we're at today?
So Susan was married to David Smith, and at the time of this happening, they were separated. So her love interest at that point in time was Tom Finley, and she was pursuing him. And through this pursuit, he did wind up writing her a letter of rejection, shall we say. He gave her compliments throughout the letter, as in that she would make a great wife for a lucky man. And he also said that he could really fall for her. She has endearing qualities about her, and he thinks she's a terrific person. But she had children, and he was not interested in a family.
He was not interested in a already made family. He went into further detail later on and said that he would have been more than happy to have a relationship and develop a family, but he did not want to have one that was already, I guess you would say he didn't want the responsibility of someone else's children.
Right. He had also mentioned in this letter that he was upset by some of Susan's behaviors, especially at a hot tub party that he had. At this hot tub party, Susan and the husband of a friend of Susan's was kissing and fondling each other while they were naked in his hot tub. To that, he also said that if you want to catch a nice guy like me one day, you're going to have to act like a nice girl. And you know, nice girls don't sleep with married men. So even though this was her interest, you can still see where the attention of other people she greatly seeked.
She just wanted everything. It's what it sounds like, in my opinion.
Right.
It didn't matter who it was. She was looking for that, I guess you would say, that missing piece. You know, when you read this letter and you really think about it, I honestly don't think the kids had anything to do with the fact that he didn't want her. I think it's the fact that they're inside his freaking hot tub, touching and feeling all up on each other while they're naked.
I mean, it could definitely be a leading factor. I mean, even though he could still say that, you know, the children that she had was out for him also.
That's true.
So on October the 24th, 1994, Susan loads up her kids into the car and she goes for a drive.
That's only 1 week. I mean, exactly 7 days after she received the letter.
So on that night, she goes for a drive. She sees a sign for John D. Long Lake. She goes to the lake, kids buckled up in their car seats. She pulls up to the boat ramp. She said that she was tired of life, but she also didn't want her children to grow up without a mother. So if she was going to end herself, she was going to take the kids with her. She says that she let the emergency brake off. She set it back. She let the brake go again, set it back. Stood beside the car, thought about it, and then she let the car go. She claims she ran after the car screaming, oh God, no, what have I done?
Claiming and screaming, oh God, what have I done? It should have never been a possibility for her to be outside that car with her children in there and her release that brake. I'm sorry. That's just my take on it. You know, I'm a very, very spoken person when it comes to things like this, especially cases like this. I just personally, if you truly loved your children, none of this would have even been a thought.
I agree with you.
I mean, that's just where my brain goes.
We do know what her handwritten confession letter is. So with help from a special guest, because I know y'all get tired of hearing us talk anyways, so we're going to let somebody else read this for us. And this is what Susan Smith's confession letter read as.
When I left my home on Tuesday, October 25th, I was very emotionally distraught. I didn't want to live anymore. I felt like things could never get any worse. When I left home, I was going to ride around a little while and then go to my mom's. As I rode and rode and rode, I felt even more anxiety coming upon me about not wanting to live. I felt I couldn't be a good mom anymore, but I didn't want my children to grow up without a mom. I felt I had to end our lives to protect us from any grief or harm. I had never felt so lonely and so sad in my entire life. I was in love with someone very much, but he didn't love me and never would. I had a very difficult time accepting that, but I had hurt him very much, and I could see why he could never love me. When I was at John D. Long Lake, I had never felt so scared and unsure as I did then. I wanted to end my life so bad and was in my car ready to go down that ramp into the water. And I did go part way, but I stopped. I went again and stopped. I then got out of the car and stood by the car, a nervous wreck. Why was I feeling this way? Why was everything so bad in my life? I had no answers to these questions. I dropped to the lowest point when I allowed my children to go down that ramp into the water without me. I took off running and screaming, oh God, no. What have I done? Why did you let this happen? I wanted to turn around so bad and go back, but I knew it was too late. I was an absolute mental case. I couldn't believe what I had done. I love my children with all my heart. That will never change. I have prayed to them for forgiveness and hope that they will find it in their heart to forgive me. I never meant to hurt them. I am sorry for what has happened, and I know that I need some help. I don't think I will ever be able to forgive myself for what I have done. My children, Michael and Alex, are with our Heavenly Father now, and I know that they will never be hurt again. As a mom, that means more than words could ever say. I knew from day one the truth would prevail, but I was so scared I didn't know what to do. It was very tough emotionally to sit and watch my family hurt like they did. It was time to bring a peace of mind to everyone, including myself. My children deserve to have the best, and now they will. I broke down on Thursday, November 3rd, and told Sheriff Howard Wells the truth. It wasn't easy, but after the truth was out, I felt like the world was lifted off my shoulders. I now know that it is going to be a tough and long road ahead of me. At this very moment, I don't feel I will be able to handle what's coming, but I have prayed to God that He give me the strength to survive each day and to face those times and situations in my life that will be extremely painful. I have put my total faith in God, and He will take care of me.
So with that letter being read, this was her confession. I have listened to several interviews. One of the interviews that I've listened to was from SLED agent Pete Logan. So he is the one that ultimately got her confession. The interview with him that I listened to, he spoke about there was an agent before him that interviewed her, but he got more aggressive with her, and she got up and walked out. So he knew going into this interview with her that it was going to have to kind of
It's going to be a gentle
walk a line of what's
a gentle approach.
correct. So he said interviewing with her was for 5 days. And in that 5-day interview period time, it was building rapport, carrying on, and moving forward. As he interviewed her and kept going, she claimed that this red light in Union, that she pulled up to this red light and stopped, and that a black man with a toboggan on carjacked her and took the kids. Or where she messed up was this particular road, the direction she was traveling, that side of the road's the main road. It would stay green unless a car pulls up at the intersection to trigger the red light to change. Well, with her story, nobody was around to see none of this happen. That means there's no other vehicles. That means there's no way there could have been, the light would have been red.
She even told the detectives that she was the only one at the intersection at one point, and then said that he came out of nowhere. He pulled up out of the intersection or something, it somehow derived that she got stopped at the red light. But she said that nobody was there. There was no one in sight. So it's like
Yep.
in yourself, like that's a contradicting statement right off the bat.
So this is where Pete Logan, while he is interviewing her, he knew he was onto something now. And now he gave her as he said, he gave her another avenue to take. So without just pressing that, he asked her, "Are you sure this is the red light that you were at? You sure it couldn't be somewhere else?" That she had thought about it, and she said, actually, it was at another red light about 10 miles away from there. Well, after that was said, one of the other agents or law enforcement that was involved said they told her that they have footage from over there at the other intersection, and that's when she caved and she gave her confession of what happened. That she took the boys to the boat ramp and she let the car go. This was a 9-day period of the time that she claims that she was carjacked and the boys are stolen. She has the entire country on high alert looking for a black gentleman with a toboggan on in said car.
I mean, she's getting on national television, crying, begging, pleading for somebody to find this gentleman that quote unquote abducted her kids and for them to bring her kids back alive when she knew good and well what she had already done.
So these are some of the clips from television.
Right here, what the truth is, I can see from their side why they have to do the things they have to do. But the Lord and myself both know the truth. I did not have anything to do with the abduction of my children.
Well, nothing she said there was true. The boys were found in their mom's car inside John D. Long Lake, like Darcy said, and her husband was not involved in the crime.
Called and asked for assistance, so we sent a team over, and one of the first agents that went over was a forensic artist who works with an alleged victim and does a pretty good interview, and as well as doing the artist's sketch. And when he completed his work that night, he pretty much indicated that he thought there were some problems with Susan Smith's story.
Susan Smith has been arrested and will be charged with 2 counts of murder in connection with the deaths of her children.
Whenever he announced they arrested her for murder, everybody in the back gasped. I mean, this is the whole community. Everybody's involved in this. Everybody is looking for these boys.
She had them fooled.
Oh yeah, very much so. Very much so.
She had them fooled. And here's what's even scarier, Brent. If she would have got just a couple details different in her statement, she would have never been arrested.
Oh, probably not. Probably not.
I mean, there was only a couple different things that were telltale signs. And if she would have really thought about it before she gave a statement, that's what scares me.
9 days she had the whole country searching for these 2 boys. And in that 9 days, another interview I heard with Tommy Pope, one of the prosecutors, he also said during this 9-day period, when one of the SLED agents went to pick her up to go in for an interview with a polygraph test, that she was even flirting with and hitting on the SLED agent. She said something to the effects of that the car ride would be much better if they were going to the beach and going to eat pizza together, or something to that effect. I don't remember the exact. I'm not going to quote it, but you get the gist. This was during the 9-day period while everybody's supposed to be out looking for her kids. I mean, no remorse, zero. There was 0 given.
Not only did you have people in Carolinas looking for these 2 children, Brent, there were people, I mean, as far as Florida.
Nationwide.
Yeah. Literally nationwide.
Yep.
I've talked to some people about this case. Whenever I found out about it, her possibility of parole coming up, her parole hearing coming up, the people I've talked to, they were like, Scott, I remember like it was yesterday when the news came out and said that she confessed to killing her kids.
So after the confession, she told the police where to find the boys. They have already been to the lake and had divers go out and looked. But when they did, they only went out, I think, like 30 feet out, because that's as
30
far
feet
as they
is
thought.
what they said, yeah.
Yeah, it wound up being, I think,
122 feet, because when the vehicle hit the water, obviously it's got some buoyancy. It floated out further, and then the current also carried it down some. Could you just want to paint a picture for people? It's late at night. Your 2 children sitting in the back seat, sleeping, not knowing a thing in the world's going on. They're just out for a car ride. And they wake up to water rising above their head. I don't know what kind of individual could do that to their own. I don't know what kind of individual could do that, period, let alone to their own kids.
They also said that the divers, when they went down and found the car, and they came back to say they found the car and the boys were in the car, they said that it was a somber scene. Even the divers, that there was a lot of tears shed at that lake to pull those boys out.
It's sad.
The interview I listened with Tommy Pope, the judge of this trial didn't allow filming during the trial. But Tommy Pope said that after everything was done, he said when he asks questions and when he wants to really paint the picture, when he got David to get up there, he said he didn't want David to tell us a little something about the boys. He said this was really hard to listen to, but he said he had to get David to, he wanted him to describe a day in the life with the boys. Not, here's where the boys are. It was, what do y'all do when y'all wake up? What do y'all, and he said it was a very, very emotional time in the courtroom to listen to David say the things that he had to say. They would get up and eat breakfast and just, reaccounting just like it's going to happen tomorrow.
It's an everyday occurrence.
Yep.
He loved those boys dearly.
The jury goes back, found her guilty. It was recommended for a death penalty. The jury decided for her not to have death. In that state, was not, if the death penalty wasn't given on that, it was an automatic life sentence with the possibility of parole after 30 years.
Yep. And the death sentence was full unanimous. You've got the full jury line. If one person is on the fence, there's no going back over it. There's no wash or anything. It's no retrial. That's it. That's the answer. Back then, at least. That's the answer. Y'all didn't come to a conclusion. It's life.
And I think in 1996 is when it changed to where it's, and now if that happens, the possibility of parole is not there. It's just life in prison.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I read somewhere down the line that this was one of the cases that pushed that law to change.
Well, I mean, and out of the cases there are for that change to come about, I mean, this is one. She's twisted.
Yeah.
I mean, even in prison, as you said before, she had 2 guards got fired. They slept with her. They said that at one of the things I found, this was probably 8 months ago, I think it was, said she was talking to 8 different men at that current period of time.
That was in 2003, right?
No, just like 8 months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, phone calls from prison.
Yeah,
that they have one. I saw one phone call from her. I really hope if you're here and you hear this, I really hope they possibly have more phone calls of what's going on, because
that would be interesting.
Because apparently she is convinced she's getting out. And by the way it sounds, she has been talking to whatever family she has, whoever she talks to. She's pretty convinced she's going to be getting out. She has, at that point in time, she was talking to 8 different men, trying to figure out who she wants to go live with. I mean, she is, I don't know what it is about these people in prison and
people falling for them, man. It blows me away. Now, reason I was asking about 2003, Brent, I don't know if you read about it or not, but the writeaprisoner.com, she actually had an ad put up on writeaprisoner.com in 2003 for herself that they wound up taking down real quick because it was a severe influx of things coming in. Yeah.
I'd heard about it. I didn't remember what year it was.
Yeah, 2003 is whenever that took place.
Yeah.
So let's I'm jumping ahead, and we can pull ourselves back in just a second, but I got to ask this right now while it's on my brain, because like your crazy board, mine's all over the place, especially with this case. I know the death penalty was not assigned to her then, lack of better words. After 30 years, could that possibly be an option? Do you know? Or is it's just going to be life and that's it?
Yep, that's it. But But the best thing we can hope for her is that the parole board comes up and they slap this thing down fast. I hope.
Yeah. I personally don't believe that she needs to be released on parole. I don't think that she should have got life, but at the same time, she also stated that she wished she wasn't alive. So I'm kind of curious if the jury took that and they were like, you know what? She wants to be gone. Let's let her sit in a cell, which, you know, she was in solitary confinement for a while by herself so she can think about everything she's done. I'm kind of curious if that might be some of the thought process behind why the jury did what the jury did.
That's what they say.
I still think never mind. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. You know where I stand.
Also, with that being said, the defense they tried to use the defense of she was trying to off herself.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying that she was in the car. She was going to go into the lake, and she had a body reflex and dove out of the car. That's what they were trying to go with in this case. But the prosecution came back on that and said, well, if that were the case and she dove out of this car, why didn't she have any scratches on her? Why didn't she have any dirt on her? She had nothing on her from this.
Especially considering it was a non-paved boat ramp. Even if it's gravel and it's not dirt and it's not mud, you're going to get some kind of something.
Right.
And then on top of that, if that was the case, and let's just say that did happen, that was, you know, she did jump out, body reflex, whatever, and she didn't have any scratches, that means that car was barely moving.
Correct.
How did it end up 122 feet away from the boat ramp?
Right.
I call baloney. I don't want to say how it was because I don't know, but I'm going to say how I think it was. She wanted a better life with a wealthy man, and she was doing what she could do to get that.
Right. So through this, I also heard that when they found the boys, that the boys were still in the car seats holding hands. And that was just, there's no words.
Mm-mm.
There really isn't.
There's not. When I go back to saying innocence, that right there, if a mother heard that about their own children and she had no change, no thought process differ, nothing, I think we're dealing with a little bit more than somebody that suffers from dependent personality disorder and whatever else. I think at this point, Brent, I feel like this is a borderline sociopath, psychopath, better terminology, a disgusting human being.
I guess one of the real reasons we're even talking about this case right now is just because of this parole's coming up. One of the other things I do want to say about this that I heard also is, but apparently in one of these recorded phone calls, I can't quote it, but I'll give you my version. What she said was, one of the guys she was talking to, she told him that when she gets out, she thinks that she would make an excellent stepmother. Could you imagine if you were a mother to find out that the father of your children brought Susan Smith home to be their stepmother?
I'm going to be honest with you. How could anybody allow that? One, I know some people that are in their 20s that weren't even born when this happened that know who this woman is.
Right.
So let alone someone that's her age being a stepmother.
Right.
Mm-mm.
I found 2 petitions. Both of them were on change.org. I looked up to try to find some of them. One of them only has like 89 signatures. The next petition has, at the time of recording this, the next petition had 528 signatures. I'll put a link to both of these, but anybody listening, if y'all know where any petitions are or whatever, drop it in the comments.
Yep.
This is just a crazy case that I just wanted to bring up, just because, more than anything, because of her parole hearing is coming up soon. And a lot of the times when we talk about some of these other cases are serial killers doing all the serial killer things that they do.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
This is, you didn't want to walk the crap away.
Yeah. They had a father.
I mean, that wanted them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just babies. Walk away.
You took two innocent lives so that you could have your quote unquote fantasy life.
Yep.
I just have to ask the question. How does it sound hearing iron doors shut every morning and every night? I'm going to throw this out there, but wouldn't it be awesome if we could get, from the time of this recording, obviously, let's just say 100 signatures on that.
Here's my last final, this is my final thought on this one. I mean, this is not a very, very in-depth episode on her, I guess you'd say. More than anything, it was just kind of a awareness of the parole hearing coming up. There are petitions out there. I'm sure there's other ones that I don't know about. I'm sure there's other things. Before I give my final thought, I will say to everybody, thank you for the likes. Thank you for the subscribes. Everybody, thank you for being here, supporting our channel. My final thought. If a parole board were to release her, could you imagine being David, knowing that she is back out on the streets after she killed your kids? Those 2 that she could have walked away from, that she killed your 2 babies.
I have no words.
Do you have any final thoughts?
My final thought is, one, I want to second what Brent said. Thank you for everybody stopping by. Doing what y'all do is, as listeners and viewers of the channel, we greatly appreciate everything. Brent, have you seen her recent mugshot image?
I have.
You see the smile she has?
Oh yeah.
Like there's no care. It's like she's just this happy-go-lucky person. I personally believe, this is my final thought, if I was those 2 boys' father, I'm not going to say what I want to say, but that he said it the best. So, yeah.
But I will say the outro for this one is just,
may justice be served
for both of the boys. Rest in peace. Good night.